Hello and welcome to the 21 Days Face Your Fears online challenge. I'm Bristena, transformation facilitator, energy therapist and writer, and my mission is helping people heal their past so as to be able to live the life of their bliss. I'm super excited to be your host on your personal growth journey to fearlessness and empowerment through the power of community. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Wendy Fry. Hi Wendy.
Hi there, Bristena. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you for joining us. Wendy is a coach who helps people transform their past, take control of their life, and get to the heart of their love and relationship problems. Wendy is trained in EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, matrix reimprinting, hypnotherapy, life coaching, neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, and many other therapeutic and healing modalities. Welcome, Wendy. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really well, and thank you so much for having me here on the 21 Day Fear Challenge. It's a privilege to join you and the other speakers and
Uh,
connecting with people worldwide. Thank you, Bristena.
it's a pleasure to have you. So, tell me some thoughts about some of the fears that you've been working through and you've managed to come out of, yeah, to come through at the other end of them, to call it like
Yeah,
that.
sure. And a brilliant question because I'm 50 this year, so obviously from my life, I've worked through a lot of different fears and a lot of different challenges. And I think well, one of the most recent ones would be back in 2014. I started writing. I'd never written a book before, sort of didn't know how to. So I did overcome some fears around, writing, self-publishing, and learning, because there's quite a lot involved in self-publishing. So I conquered the fear and just went and did it. And I set myself a deadline with the book and achieved that deadline. And I guess another major fear which led up to the book was actually leaving my day job. Back in 2008, I set up my business, but I was running it alongside a day job, and always sort of had that fear in the back of my mind. What if I go full time? What if this doesn't work? And I had no financial backing. My friends and family thought I was pretty crazy and just leaving my business time. And I'm just so glad that basically I had to move beyond the fear, and from doing so, it's given me much more self-belief than I had back then. So, I would just encourage everyone to face your fear. Never as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. What about, so what does your fear, for example, being published, do you think, what does it go uh, back to? In your childhood, maybe fear of
Yeah.
exposure or fear of being seen, fear of judgment. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's a big question, and I'll attempt to give you a short answer. In the time that we have, I think for me the biggest thing about writing the book was I was sharing very, very honestly my story. So the story begins with the 12-year-old me and the limiting beliefs I formed about myself. My parents split up when I was a teenager, and in the book, there's just a few pages which relate to my experience, and I'd never actually voiced that before. My close friends knew about my experience, but I did worry about upsetting my parents, and for the first time, giving that 12-year-old a voice, although it took until like I was 48 to do so. It was actually, I needed to share that story because that's actually what happened. And that was really the biggest fear, that my parents wouldn't be happy with what I shared. But actually, but both of them were able to reflect on my experience, and although it brought up different emotions for everyone, it was important to be able to give that 12-year-old a voice. And I'm so glad I did. So there wasn't, for me, there wasn't any external fear, because the book was written because I wanted to reach out and help people that may not be able to afford therapy. So there's literally, like, 6, 7 years worth of my work in the book. And I thought, I've just got to do this. I have to find a way to do it. And I done so without my parents' approval or permission, because this was something I had to do for myself in order to help others. So yeah, it covered some big fears, and they're gone, and I'm on my second book now, so it's all good.
Wonderful. I love the fact that you emphasize this really, really important point about the fact that even though people like our family, our friends, our peers might not approve of certain things, but if doing something which we are afraid of makes us really, really happy, and we know that we need to be doing this, even though everybody is against us. But if we do it and you believe in yourself and you, yeah, you put yourself out there, and then you get amazing results. So tell us how your book was received.
Yeah, my book was received. I mean, the book, the it's called Find You, Find Love, Get to the Heart of Your Love and
I read
Relationships
it.
Using EFT. And the thing with EFT is not everyone knows about it, or not everyone's heard about it, or when you're saying to people, oh, it's the tapping and you're tapping on your body there, it can be a bit like what. But I really wanted to make the book niched. EFT is something that's helped me many times, and I particularly wanted to write a book that included EFT in the title. So what it's enabled me to do, it's enabled me to reach the people who are interested in EFT, and it's enabled me to reach the people who want to improve the relationship with themselves first and foremost. And then when they've addressed their issues and what's going on for them, that in turn will improve the relationships around them. So it's all very much around self-work. I've had some lovely feedback. People have read the book, or they've downloaded the free stuff from my website, and they're making changes. And it's not a book you would just read through in one go. It's a book. I like to call it home play instead of homework, but it's a book full of home play, and basically, therapy in a book. And it's just been wonderful to get it out there, and wonderful to hear the changes that people are making when they realize the limiting beliefs that they've been holding on to, and then they're able to clear those using EFT and just move on with their lives.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. And I read your book this time last year after we met at the Matrix
Yeah.
Reimprinting Supervision Day, and it was perfect at the time in my life because I had just broken up from my ex-boyfriend. So, rediscovering myself and learning from your book and working through those exercises made me recreate a much more fulfilling relationship with myself, so that I was able to move away from the pain and the suffering of heartbreak and relationship end. So thank you for that. And
Oh, you're
talking
welcome.
about EFT, for people who are watching this interview, maybe some of them know about EFT because it's a very, it's getting more and more popular now in the self-development arena, personal growth. But what about those people who don't know much about tapping EFT? How would you work with EFT in releasing fears and limiting beliefs? Can you share with us
Yes,
a few ideas on that?
sure, Bristena. There's a number of different ways of using EFT with fears. So, let's say perhaps a client might come with a phobia of something. So, whatever the fear is related to, whether it be public speaking or a fear of spiders or flying or whatever it might be presenting for them, with the emotional freedom technique, we're tapping on the energy meridian body. So there's various points that we use at the top of the head, inner eye, outer eye, under the nose, the chin, collarbone, and then various points on the hands. But basically, what we're doing is, when I'm working with people, I don't get too hung up on explaining the technique. I will say to them, okay, so if you could do anything to get rid of this fear, you're open and willing to use a technique that will help to reduce that fear and clear that fear. So what we do is, depending on their past experience, let's say it's connected with flying and they've had a bad experience of flying, then I might ask them to go back into that memory of what was going on for them at that time. So we're not denying the fear, we're actually welcoming it and embracing it. And then there are various processes that we go through to score their level of fear, how intense it is, or how intense it might be when they think about boarding a plane or getting onto a plane. And what we're able to do is we're able to reduce and neutralize that fear down. Sometimes another way or a different way of working is also to use matrix re-imprinting, which utilizes EFT, and they can go back in a very disassociated way where they don't have to re-experience the emotions or the trauma that they went through. And we're able to change the beliefs that they formed about themselves or about flying or about, the world in general. and we're able to body the blocked or the stuck energy or the trauma at the level that it occurred at. And then depending on if we're using EFT or matrix re-imprinting, we might go on to re-imprint a positive belief where they're able to see themselves flying off to Australia or, York or wherever they want to go. So it's actually a wonderful technique. And what I love about it, Bristena, is it puts the user in control. So once the technique is learned, it's really quick and really easy to pick up. Everyone takes the fingertips with them, even if they're carrying shopping or holding on to something, they can still imagine tapping on themselves to have the same effect. Or if they're in a public place, you can just massage these points, and people just think you're rubbing your face or something. And it's a beautiful technique because it puts the user back in control of their lives.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. I've been using EFT for almost 2 years now, and it's been the number one tool that has helped me massively overcome my inhibitions, my insecurities, my fears, and all this stuck energy or negative emotions that we've been holding on for a long time. And I will definitely send more information and the procedure, EFT procedure, to those who are participating at this challenge. So if you want to apply EFT, you can do it on yourself. Of course, if you need more advanced guidance, you should seek the help of an experienced therapist. But EFT can be used on ourselves, by ourselves, whenever we are experiencing an emotional overwhelm, or just, for example, sadness or anger or whatever kind of emotion that is keeping you stuck, is keeping you in a stress, and you can just tap and you feel how you release and let go. And it's amazing. I love EFT, and it's great for working with fears. This is, I think, one of the best ways that we can work through our fears with EFT. So do you have any case studies or any client stories that you think are worth mentioning in this context?
Oh, now that you've kind of caught me on the hop here. You've caught me live with that question, and I would need to ask permission
All right.
before sort of sharing any case studies or any details. So I do have some written testimonials from my work, although I don't thinking from memory. So no, because I use a number of different processes. So I don't know if it's okay to mention hypnosis here. Is it
Yeah,
okay
of
to
course,
mention
of
it?
course.
Sure. With a lady, and I do have permission to share this. It's on my website. I worked with a lady who had a phobia of buttons, so she couldn't buy any clothes with buttons. She couldn't touch a button; it would
Wow.
make her feel sick, squeamish. And we used at the time, and the reason because I hadn't trained in the modality, so we actually used hypnosis to take her back to the original root cause of that problem, where the phobia had first started with having this aversion to buttons. And we were able to, again, very similar to Matrix, we were able to work out what was going on for her and why she was frightened of buttons as a child, but that had gone through right into her adulthood life. So we were able to use hypnosis. We were able to access the subconscious mind and to clear that and to let her know, actually, that was over, that she is safe now. And I had a video testimonial where she's got a lovely green blouse on and white buttons, and she's very proud sort of showing off her buttons. So, there's different techniques for everything. Generally with hypnosis, I mean, you can learn self-hypnosis. For the lady that I worked with, she came to a session. But in the same way, we're able to change fears using hypnosis. You can use EFT, matrix re-imprinting. There's so many different modalities to help support the user to work through the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And nowadays they're becoming more and more popular, and more and more people become accepting or embracing towards these, let's call them new paradigm healing modalities. For example, EFT is on the scene for like 20 years, matrix re-imprinting for 8 years, and more and more people are using it nowadays. There are millions of people using EFT worldwide, and I think this is very much worth mentioning, the fact that people are becoming more and more receptive, and even things like PTSD, really, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and many difficult mental health issues are being treated with EFT and matrix re-imprinting worldwide. Yeah. So I think it's definitely worth spreading word about EFT and practicing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
let's tap all around the world.
yeah.
Brilliant.
So, how would you relate fearlessness and facing our fears with personal growth and empowerment?
Yeah, I think it's so self-actualized and to move beyond the either restraints imposed on us by other people or those self-restraints where we keep ourselves in our comfort zone. But it's a little bit like, they're talking about EFT and getting things flowing. If there is no flow and there is no change, we just stay stuck and we stay stagnant. So, by acknowledging fear, because to me fear, I say, oh, fear is just energy. It's not discounting the fear, but actually fear is an energy, and we can change energy really, really quickly. So, by facing your fear and you're overcoming it, you're actually getting more and more supportive beliefs that you can overcome these fears. And actually, if you've done that and that was easy, then what's the next thing you can do, and what's the next thing you can do? And for myself, I'm always thinking about what's the best that can happen here, because our subconscious minds are protecting us from the worst case scenario. Oh, what if, and I'm like, well, so what? Well, so what if that happens? What will you do then? And what will you do then? And what will you do then? So actually, fear, although you've got the old analogy of failure to experience actual reality, for me, like, fear is very much in my solar plexus, or my gut area. And when I'm excited, that is in the same part of my body. So I would turn the analogy round into feeling excited and ready. So when you are afraid or when you are scared, is just to check in with yourself. Is there a little bit of element of excitement about this, especially when we're working towards things, when we're doing something new? It's thinking about, okay, if this happens, how great can it be? So it's just changing your mindset and using those techniques to work through it.
Yeah, absolutely. It just occurred to me now. I used to have this fear of handling some official documents. I don't want to go into too much detail about this, but my my thought stopped at some point, and I didn't go further than that to see. Okay, so what's the worst? What can happen? Like, really, is that gonna be that bad? So I think many of us just stop somewhere and we just say, "Oh, I'm just afraid of this," and not stop and don't consider it any further than that. But if we just are open and are willing to go and see that there's nothing that much to be afraid of, and it's just in our mind and it's based on our previous traumatic experiences. But if we work through the traumatic experiences and release the stuck energy and the blockages there's nothing else gonna be in our way.
Yeah, exactly. As Susan Jeffers would say, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Okay, Wendy, how can people reach you?
Yeah, I have two different websites. So that I have a love and relationship website, which is wendyfry.com. So www.wendy, wendyfry.com. And then my general therapy website, which covers the whole range of services that I offer. It's www.bepositive.me.uk. I'll just spell that out. It's BE positive, all one word, .me, Thank you, Bristena. And there's actually, if I can just say, there's some free resources to
Sure.
download on the Wendy Fry site from my book. There's some free PDFs and also two audio downloads if people just want to check those out and see what's on offer on that page. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share in regards to facing our fears?
Yeah, I just, I want to say, what's the best that can happen for everyone listening in? You've done that story of the worst case scenario. You know it, standing on your head back to front. So it's just allow yourself to step out of that comfort zone and ask yourself, what is the best that can happen? And take action, because you'll surprise yourself at how well things can go when you step out of your comfort zone and into that zone of what's the best that can happen. Life will really start to open up for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much,
You know.
Wendy. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure, Bristena. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you start implementing EFT in your daily practice of facing your fears. If you've been inspired, I would like you to share this video on your social media and let your friend know that you're participating in this amazing online challenge for fearless warriors. Sign up to my YouTube channel Journey to Bliss and click on the link below to get your free Bliss Blueprint with the 3 radical transformation stages from within. Hope you enjoyed this and see you next time. Bye bye!